Isabel, founder and firebrand of the Operation Spark.
Hi, I'm Kristen Tetzi, author of The Age of the Child, and I'm between two boxes.
Hi, I'm Lenora. I'm the creator of The Bitchy Bookkeeper, and we are the three founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls. So welcome to our 1-year anniversary special. This is part 1. I cannot believe it's been a year, but it has been. So,
Crazy.
Absolutely. So what we have prepared for you in this episode is some of our favorite clips from the 24 episodes we have done this year. 24, right? 24. If you're listening on podcast, we have about 9, but originally 24 episodes. So, hope you enjoy the show.
Meet the Childfree Girls.
Hey!
Oh,
We have different perspectives. I mean, the three of us are decidedly child-free by choice, and we are passionate about our living this way. And we live in 3 different countries, and we have different backgrounds, different upbringings, and it's not like we're all just going to sit and agree we agree on the foundation we all agree on.
well, yeah, I mean, that's going to be the core, I would say, of what we're trying to achieve here, is to actually show different perspectives of the same subject. Very strong opinions, like Kristen said, because they are, but it's going to give us a chance as well to get our message out there. And some people are going to agree with one of us or all of us or none of us, and that's fine.
If you have 3 people, intertwining and braiding their thoughts together, it's strange, really, how one person's single line of thought, when met with another one, can just create this really cool explosion of new ideas that come from this conversation that you might not have thought about before.
Yeah.
And it's all in one place, like an article, but with more stuff going on.
Should old people have babies?
And Alec Baldwin, who's 60, I think, is considering having another child with his wife at 60. So while I think these old men married to young women think, oh, I love her, and if she's going to marry me at this age, I'm sure she's going to want children, so I should give her children. But kids aren't bracelets. They're not cars. These are potential beings that you're presenting to a world where you might die very early, and they're going to have to deal with your death. And that is also a bad problem, because, children are especially, this is according to the NCBI, children are especially vulnerable to psychological problems after the death of a parent. Often major childhood loss seems to result in psychopathology. Various mental disorders, especially depression, frequently reveal childhood bereavement, suggesting that this experience can render a person emotionally vulnerable for life.
First thing that came to mind, and I think Lenora and I were talking about this, is how rock and roll it is to have kids when you're really old. You see all these rock stars in their 60s and their 70s, and they have like 100 kids each, and they're still reproducing. But then you see the moms. Kids have young mothers. So the guys are like, yeah, we'll just, have more kids and have the money to give their mom to raise them. So basically, these kids are actually growing up with a single parent, essentially. I find it actually a little bit gross when you see men that are like super old having babies with young women. It's gross. Stop it. Humanity, just don't. Please.
Parenting by circumstance, or child-free parenting.
For those of us that are very secure and are very devoted to being child-free, meaning not raising kids of any kind, now or in the future, hearing someone else using the term child-free when it means maybe only for a weekend, that so the grandparents have taken the kids, or oh well, my husband has kids from another marriage, and they were with us for a time, and now my husband hates the kids, and well, we're all child free now. Like, to me, that really dilutes the experience, and it really takes away from those of us who are actually child free, meaning we don't have kids now, we did not have kids 10 years ago, and we do not want kids 10 years from now.
I get frustrated too. There were some people, I don't know who they were. It was a couple years ago. They were pretty known for being child-free bloggers, and then they had kids. And I was like, ugh. But mostly my ugh was how boring. I'm really sorry for that, but whenever I learn someone's having kids, I just feel so spiritually bored. That's terrible.
Me too. No, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Interview with Laura Carroll.
I think I went back as far as the Augustus times, Roman times, when really to have societies gain and keep their power, they needed to have more people. They needed to increase their population. And in those times, and even further out, even after that, that having children back in those times was not a safe thing. Women could die, and it's nothing like it was today. So because there were dangers around it, and people knew that, there had to be some romanticized myths or messaging to be created such that it would make getting pregnant and having children more appealing. And I think we still, these myths that were created or messaging to inspire people to procreate still live with us today, even though now we're how many billion people on the planet? So the population gain argument is long over. So a lot of what I begin talking about that in the book, but as the discussion furthers, it's to get more specific about why did we get so stuck on this particular assumption? Why do so many people believe some of these things still today? Thousands of years later, it's governments, it's church, it's some powerful influences, but it does go way, way back to when more people were needed to grow and gain power in, say, society, whether it be the political, cultural, or religious communities. But I think one of the pronatalist assumptions, I think it's one I talked to fairly early on in the baby matrix, is what I call the normality assumption. And in there is all the discussion that I think in the end people do see it as a choice more, but they still kind of deep inside ask themselves, is there something wrong with me that I don't want this? Am I sure there's nothing wrong? Am I really like a woman? Am I really like an immature adult? Whatever that means. I think because that's a core sense of your being, how you see yourself, your confidence, your esteem. To get past that, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. In fact, maternal stuff is just this other thing that's been put on us. And yes, we do have biological processes that create desires in us, but all the research says it happens after the baby's born, not before.
Pronatalist privilege.
So the other day, just to put another example, the other day I was at the hairdresser. So I had an appointment. I was going to get waxed because I love that. And I was sitting in the waiting room right in front of the front desk. And I was waiting for my turn, and I see this heavily pregnant woman just come like walking, and she's paying because she had just, gotten her nails done or whatever. And I was looking at my phone. And then at some point, she dropped her receipt on the floor. And that made me look up. And like she dropped it, and she just looked at me like, "Are you going to pick it up?"
That for me, parenthood is a scam. It's like a pyramid scheme. You got the people at the top, the government, whatever, and all these little peons at the bottom having children, all this stuff, because they're funding everything that runs this world, like work. Because you have a kid, well, you have to go to work, you have to support, you got to do this, well, you need to buy a minivan, you got to, everyone's working their butts off to support the next generation who's going to grow up to work their butts off to support the younger generation. It's this continuous cycle. It's a pyramid scheme, essentially. And I've seen the people use the term cult, which I also agree with, how parenthood is a cult. Because everyone wants you to come into it. They'll give you incentives to join, we'll give you money, the government will give you money. all the benefits of being a parent, like the best love you'll ever know, all that sort of thing. And then once you're in it, you can't get out of it.
Part of getting people to reproduce is making them feel like they're doing a very important job. So they get this message that parenthood is self-sacrificing and therefore noble. It's the most important job in the world. It's, you know, it's all these grand things, somehow also simultaneously something everybody can somehow do. I don't know if I would trust everybody with the most important job in the world. Like, you are not cutting me open to remove anything in my body if you're not qualified. But whatever. Yeah, so they get all this messaging, and then all the commercials that show mommy as the only one who knows how to pick juice, the only one who knows how to clean, the only one who never stinks up the bathroom, the only one who can make pizza roll-ups. Like, her teenage son doesn't know how to make pizza, the whatever's in the microwave. She has to do it for him and his friends when they come home all stinky. I mean, moms know everything. They are trusted to do everything. They're like, Jesus Christ, they're Mother Mary. And so you have this image of, oh, I can be one of those people, I guess. And I guess that messaging works. I don't know.
Love and romance as child-free women.
5 minutes after I realized I didn't want to play my violin anymore, I met the first guy that ever made me horny. So I got into a relationship with him. And I guess I can say this, got into a relationship with his wife. Separately. It's a very complicated story. And that was my first full-on sexual affair that lasted 2 years.
You really are ambitious.
I don't know what to say to that.
How do you know when to tell someone that you're newly dating that you don't want kids? And then how do you bring it up without seeming like some weird stalker freak who wants to marry them next week? Because it's seems like such a heavy thing. So how do you sneak it in there?
Well, I just keep it casual, and I usually do it on the first date. Like, I don't wait. Well, if you're talking to this person, like you met them online or through an app or whatever, you can do it before. But if it's someone setting you up, I don't know, it happens, blind date or whatever. From the get-go, I mean, for me, that's really important because I think it's very important to be honest from the beginning about everything. And this is such a big part of my life. It's such a big thing.
Child-free selfish?
And I think what really bothers me more than other people thinking it's selfish is people who don't want kids saying, yes, I'm selfish because I sue me, I'm selfish for not wanting kids. And it's like they're just kind of ruining the whole thing by saying that, because and most of all, they're ruining the word selfish. They're assigning it a meaning that it is not accurate. It's like people who say figuratively, or people who say literally when they mean figuratively. It's a complete screw up of the whole word. I think what people think selfish means is living my life for myself. And that is not what selfish means. And I'm just going to read the definition for everyone out there, especially for any child-free person who says, I'm too selfish to have kids. I'm selfish. Maybe you are too selfish to have kids. Some people might be. That could be true. But that doesn't mean that selfish people aren't currently having kids and still continuing to be selfish. But for the record, selfish is an adjective. It is of a person, action, or motive lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure, but also without consideration for others. So what somebody who really wants to be a grandma might argue is, well, I want grandchildren and you're selfishly not having them and you're not giving me my grandchildren. But that's like a whole fallacy, because it's the grandma being selfish for wanting someone to have kids in order for her to see those grandkids like once a month, maybe.
So I think, well, that alone, that's not selfish, because I'm sparing this life something that it probably didn't ask for. You know, there's people that think that certain, beings are called into existence and you choose your parents and all that sort of thing. And I don't necessarily buy into that, but I know some people do. So that's just my view on it. But I actually think of the kid. And so I think it's a good thing that I'm not procreating.
Antinatalism and Ephilism with Amanda Sukenik.
The real criminal here is not really human beings. It is nature. There is more suffering in nature than there is in the human world. Human beings are awful. Don't get me wrong. Human beings are responsible for terrible things in this world. But it is nature that's the real culprit. It is nature that predation, everything that happens in nature is where the suffering really is where the vast majority of suffering lives on this planet.
Well, I'm just, wondering one thing, because I mean, you talk about suffering and like, I understand where your idea is coming from, but I can't stop thinking about human interaction, and I'm like positive human interaction. So isn't there any value on that?
Sure. We're doing it right now. I mean, I can't, I can't make people understand this, or at least have this conversation, without the value of how great it is that we have this ability to have language and have conversation. So, like I said in the very beginning, life is all kinds of things. It's all kinds of experiences. I am a toy collector. I am an artist. I love a lot of just stupid stuff. And I see great personal value in that. I love a lot of things about life. But again, it's what is the price of all of that? And I don't think that it's worth the price. And I definitely don't, as a living thing. I'm kind of forced to pay that price. I'm sort of forced to be a pawn in the bad program. But signing somebody else up to play that game, I don't think it can be justified. I would say that you got to start a little bit small. You got to kind of like look at your ability to live in the world as an antinatal person. Punch yourself in the stomach little bits by bits to sort of, toughen your stomach muscles, so to speak, metaphorically. I'm not afraid. I mean, that's just the bottom line, is I don't really care if people don't like me because of it. And I think that a lot of people do worry about that. They worry about what it's going to mean as far as their relationship with their families. That's a big one. What it's going to mean for their friendships, what it's going to mean about all kinds of things, all the ways that they interact with the world.
A very scary Halloween special.
When I grew up, my mom said, Conchita. I said, yes, mama. She said, Conchita, you have to use your conchita. Do you know what that means in Spanish?
Vagina?
Yes. She said, you have to use your conchita to have children. And I was like, Mama, I don't want children. And she was like, okay, use it to find a rich husband, and then use it to have children.
Hey Siri, how do you take care of a baby?
Oh my God.
No womb for you.
I would be interested to know what kids are being taught in either middle school or high school now about sex ed and birth control. I do know that people will get all in an uproar about like offering condoms in the nurse's office or something, or talking too much about sex, because they really do think it's the same as saying, here, go have sex, because there's some kind of disconnect. And this is where I think child-free people are actually a really good resource for parents, because it seems like there's, for some parents or certain kinds of parents, there's like this wall that comes over them. They completely forget how not to be a parent. They completely forget what it was like before they became parents, and they don't remember that you don't need teachers giving you condoms to attract you to sex, unless you're Lenora, who is like 26. But like, a lot of teenagers already know that sex is a thing. They're already drawn to it. They don't, it's showing them what a condom is and showing them how to use it and teaching them about responsible sex and safe sex, how not to get diseases, how not to make a baby when you can't take care of it, how not to make a baby that your parents are going to have to take care of if they're against abortion. I don't know. It's like there's this weird thing in them that teaching kids how to protect themselves sexually is the exact same thing as saying, go, be free, have sex. And I think that leads to so many problems.
and some of us actually have also talked to doctors, seeking voluntary sterilization surgery because that's the easiest thing to just make sure that you're never going to reproduce. And in my case, it was very easy. But I know that many women, especially in the States, have a really hard time finding a doctor that will, say, okay, I'll perform a surgery on you and not impose their own selfish thoughts and values upon these women. Like, oh, you're going to change your mind, or what if your future husband wants to have kids? Like, oh, fun, you know. So it's neither or. I mean, you can't have the surgery that you want because you don't want to have children, but you can't abort either. So you got pregnant. Oh, that's too bad.
The relationship coach who caused a social media storm.
We just wanted to ask you, like, when you decided to have children, was there a particular reason, or was it out of desire?
Society. So and as a woman with 2 children that I love from the bottom of my heart, because I'm a very responsible person, I would either have had none or one. Period.
So was it societal pressure? Did you have the second in order to give the first one a sibling, or is it because so many people even have a problem with one child? When are you going to have a sibling? What's your poor kid going to do without a sibling?
So the first, so marriage and children were societal, right? So I bought a house when I was 19. I was in corporate America from high school. I had money, I had a car, I had everything going for me. And then I still had this void inside of me. And I was like, oh, there was like this ladder, like checklist thing. Oh, the marriage, the baby carriage. Yes, that's what it is. So if I do these things, check, ding, here comes the confetti, the void goes away, bam.
Did it fill the void?
No. No, the void got filled when I sat there and said, what caused the void? That's how I got rid of the void. And start working on my crap that was handed down to me, all these years. So
Interview with Dan Alexander.
So I'm certain it must have come up because I was fairly open about it and very, proud of it. I was in my early 20s at the time and very, I don't want to say militant, but that's the closest I can describe to it. You're like, oh, I'm not having kids, by the way. Kind of putting the guard up right away almost. But we were always on the same page about that. And the day we met that June 1st and had been June 1st, 2002. We've been together ever since. And that it just was always there. We'd always had the discussion. So it was never an issue. It was never going to be a maybe or what if.
Did you find that, dating before that was difficult? Because most women think they want to have children. So, you're being so straightforward with that.
Sure. Yeah, it was a bit challenging in a sense, but I never felt uncomfortable about approaching it, about approaching the subject. It always would come up. Yeah, I would always maybe find a way to bring it up. Prior to meeting my spouse, I had just come out of a long-term relationship that was just over a year prior to that. And then I met my spouse a few months later. This is her office too. So, but in between, it was not really, I was very upfront about it. And because to me, it was a deal breaker for as long as I've been, been old enough to recognize it. I knew it was always going to be a deal breaker.
Interview with Therese Schechter.
I read one of the interviews you did, and you talked about, I think it was in Salon, and you said that, in gathering, all these people who come together, who have started coming out online to talk about being child-free, one of these groups is child-free men's rights activists. Yeah. And that to me is just so oxymoronic unless I have no idea what they are. Like, I can't imagine men's rights activists who probably believe a woman's place is somewhere. I guess in that case, we would just be the blow-up dolls that don't procreate and that they can utilize. I don't get it.
I think that they're kind of an overlap with this group called Men Going Their Own Way, who are men who have allegedly like relinquished the female gender. Like they're done. They don't need women. They're leaving. Except that they like are relentlessly writing and making videos about women. Like,
are they going to an island far away? Maybe it could be
I know we could take up a collection. And there's an overlap with child-free men who are. I mean, I'm sure there are other. Look, there are lots of very cool, awesome child-free men, but this specific like men's rights activist child-free group, I think, was an overlap with them. Like, we don't want anything to do with women and children and all of that stuff.
I have been called by child-free people a breeder pleaser.
Breeder pleaser. Me too.
Yay!
I love down. I have not had that yet. I've never even heard of that. Okay,
you need to do is not insult a parent.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because I'm the bitchy bookkeeper, so I'm not like a breeder. I've never heard of that before.
Really?
That's okay. I don't need it.
If you're at all fair to parents, or if you don't call children crotch fruit or crotch goblins or whatever, then you're a breeder pleaser because you're trying to not offend parents, and that's bad.
Yeah.
I have not come across that at all.
Interview with Jackie Shannon Hollis.
When your phase of feeling that strong, intense urge to have a child, so you didn't have that at first, and then you had it, and then at what point was there an aha moment where it went away? Was it a tapering off that involved you having to make it go away because you were battling between the idea of a child and staying with your husband? Or
I think that it was like almost any emotion or thing that we struggle with. It wasn't. It was something that came and went, and there were times where I was sort of through the years of longing where I was also wildly child-free. I mean, it wasn't just one thing. I loved it. I was fully aware of what came into my life in the absence of children, the opportunities I had, the travel I had, the financial stability I had, the good nights of sleep, I can go on and on. There were so many things. And the opportunity to explore my relationship. So all of that was there. And so it wasn't like I spent 10 years intensely wanting. I would say that over the period of time, the wanting declined. And about the time I turned 40, and through some events that were even in the book, it really did go out the door, just really understanding, I'm done with that. And then there was a space left, not so much a space of, I have to give that up, and now how do I fill it? But I think a space that had always been there, and a hollow that I had been using this distraction of child wanting to fill. And that when that was gone was when really a more truly deeper exploration of my own creativity and desires came forward.
Interview with the Goodlet couple.
We are very conscious of how much freedom we do have, and we set ourselves goals, and we're very goal orientated in that way, even if it's from small to big goals. And every year we kind of say, okay, well, we want to do this year, and we know that it's the only people stopping us from doing that is us. We both work sort of quite high level jobs, and we're kind of planning to step away from that in sort of 5 or 6 years. So we're in a very focused place right now, and I couldn't imagine having to give up any of that for children.
Childfree Girls discuss To Kid or Not to Kid, the movie.
People have children for a support system, whether it's their children or the community that comes into their life because they are parents. And I think that not having that scares more people into having children, or it scares people at the thought of not having that because they don't know how else they would develop a community or a support system without breeding their own children. So, my view is like, you can create whatever community you want. It doesn't have to all come out of you. So, but a lot of people don't think that way. So I think, it's fear and regret. I was going to say coming out of my vagina, but I decided not to.
You should have.
Yeah, well, okay. So I always say that you can create wonderful things that don't come out of your vagina.
Who will take care of you when you're old?
So what is your guys' plan? How are you two going to take care of me when I get old?
We're going to buy one of those. We'll buy one of those old lady villas, like there are these women who are buying like a little teeny neighborhood or a bunch of houses close together, and we'll just have like little row houses or something so we can do proof of life checks every morning.
Conversation with a Christian anti-abortionist.
So I'm Colombian. I'm not sure if you knew, but in my country, abortion is legal only in 3 instances. When there's been rape, when there is imminent danger to the mother, or when the child is coming with some serious malformations. Would you agree that those 3 instances are okay to get an abortion? No, not even rape?
No. Oh, especially not rape. Especially not rape. One.
Why?
Yeah. One, especially not rape. You cannot get an abortion due to rape.
A child-free variety show.
And we should be the ones to do it because we don't have kids. And as they say, if you don't have kids, you should probably do something else exceptional with your life to make up for the fact that you didn't have kids, or because you have so much free time that you should be using it to do something really good that equates to the goodness that is having kids.
Which we are by telling people you don't have to have kids. You can enjoy your life, invest your time and energy into yourself.
And to whatever. Having kids is great anyway. I mean, why is that a great thing?
People that have kids say that. Actually, people who have kids who are not sure that they actually want kids say that. The people who are parents, who chose to be parents and are honest about the rigors of raising children will say, yes, we love our kids, but if you don't want any, you don't have any.
I actually got into a discussion with somebody very close to me recently about this, because they were like, oh, but being a mom can be seen by some women as an achievement. And it's just like, oh God, no, it's a biological thing. Like, unless you had to go through like 10 rounds of IVF or whatever, and it's something that has actually been very difficult and costly. And I'm talking out of my ass. I cannot relate to this because I have never been through it. I don't know anybody who has been through it. I don't understand how difficult or, heavy that is on anyone. But if you just had sex and got pregnant, that is just basic biology, to me. An achievement in that sense would be, raising your kid with good values, for example, being a good parent, because some parents out there are not good parents or shitty parents. We all know about that as well. So I think it's just prenatalism romanticizing, that, oh yes, having kids in itself is a great achievement. And like, if you had kids, then, be happy that you made something good with your life.
Tocophobia and maturing into being child-free.
People avoiding sex and relationships out of fear of becoming pregnant. Now, this is something that I can kind of relate to personally, not because I'm tocophobic, like I wouldn't say that I am, but I purposely only choose people that cannot get me pregnant if I'm going to have a sexual relationship. That has always been a big thing for me. And I will totally cop to avoiding a lot of relationships because I don't want to. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That makes total sense to me. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's interesting. I mean, I understand that because I used to, like, I actually put off sex for a very long time because of that. All my friends were like having sex by the time they were 16, and I only, I lost my virginity, which is also completely, made up concept by society. But the first time I had sex with penetration, with possibility of pregnancy, I was 23.
Oh, you were almost as old as I was.
Man,
I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
I avoided that for 7 years because I was like, I'm not fucking gonna get pregnant. I'm like, there's no fucking way. And of course, when you're a teenager, you can have sex, with whomever or whenever. Everyone's doing it. I didn't want to.
Pets and kids. What's the difference?
Pets and being child free, and do you guys consider yourselves fur moms? And
I never said that.
No, I never said that either. I need to clarify that as well.
I didn't put this in notes. I wrote that note just before we started.
There is a feature that says Doc Mom. I really have to clarify on that point. But yes.
Okay, let's talk about this because we have had debates on our Instagram with a few people leaving comments like, well, why are you child-free if you have pets?
And during the time that I was expecting Euro to come home, I got my heart broken. And when he got home, it was like he just fucking fixed everything. You know?
Aww.
He's the ultimate heartbreaker fixer ever. So, and we've been together for 7 years almost. Yeah.
Wow.
Nora is seldom speechless. Like,
well, it's not
like,
that believe me, it's not that I'm speechless. I am trying to be supportive of you two having pets because I grew up with dogs. I always had dogs. I used to pet sit a lot, so I enjoyed looking after other people's pets. But for me, it always came down to like my needs come first, and some dogs need to be fed first thing in the morning.
Your Children Are Boring, and Other Musings with Tom James.
Much as that, so those lists were obviously put in there mainly to make people laugh. And the reason I put the Queen in there, because I quite like putting the Queen next to Mussolini. Thought it was quite funny. But it is sort of to make a point, which is arguably anyone can have a kid, right? Anyone can. It's a biological reality. It's something you can just do for most people, But that doesn't mean that it doesn't then necessitate a certain type of behaviour. Just like, any of us child-free people could go off and lead a horrible existence and be really, foul towards people and cause upset wherever we go. But so could someone with kids. We might have a little more time to spend doing it. But that doesn't really make any difference. Everything starts to look the same in these various parented houses. They've all got the terrible drawings on the walls that the kids have done, where they all look the bloody same as well. They all look like a blue spider with a handbag, and that's mummy. Is it? Because is it? Nice,
that was
right?
one of the reasons. I mean, in addition to not wanting children, just because I didn't want children, as I got older and saw people having children and what that meant, that whole mommy bonding and play dates and minivans, like everything having to do with having to be a part of that clique was just the least appealing thing. And it just kind of reinforced how happy I was to have not made that choice, because it's not, I mean, I'm pretty good at being antisocial. I don't need to hang out with people. I can get out of it. I've gotten really good at it. But there are times when you can just feel kind of forced into it or drawn beyond your control into it. And I'm just glad I wasn't.
Well, yeah, but like a lot of religions or cults, they get you when you're at your most vulnerable. Yeah.
You're in stirrups. What are you going to do? You're like,
yeah, right? Oh, God, okay, we'll be friends.
Thoughts about Mother's Day.
Does anyone else have a feeling like if you post anything other than something to do with Mother's Day on social media, you feel like you're gonna get burned at the stake or something? Because I kind of felt like that for a while, because I wasn't wishing other people happy Mother's Day. I wasn't talking about my dead mother on Facebook, which I'm sure I could have garnered a lot of sympathy from that, but I wasn't interested. So it kind of became awkward, and then I just avoided social media on that day.
Interview with Maxine Trump.
And there's also people who think that there aren't a lot of us out there. And we actually are a lot. It's just that people are not too vocal about it. And I think we need to be more out there,
Totally. I mean, I could not agree with you more. The more that we aren't kind of hiding behind, as I was, like I just wasn't bringing it up, so then I knew no one would ask me. And now I'm so loud and proud about it. I'm definitely not going into parties and going, "Hi, I'm Maxine, I'm child-free." Like, I want to make friends.
I do that. It's totally okay. That's the second thing that comes out of my mouth. Like, "Hi, I'm Lenora. I'm child-free." Because I have business, I have blogs to promote. I have, that's why it's now a business. So I want people to come after me with it.
For me, it's been just being completely unapologetic about it. It's really literally learning how to give 0 fucks about what other people think about me. There's no other way to do it. Absolutely no other way. Yeah.
And when you give 0 fucks, the friends then that are around you are then your true community.
Younger people, this one is for you.
So the Childfree Doodles is this big account. They post Childfree Doodles. And one of them was like happy non-Mother's Day or something. It was around Mother's Day. And somebody reposted that on their personal feed. And what happened is somebody, one of her friends or acquaintances, I don't know, who happened to just have given birth, sent her a DM saying, "Oh, give it a rest, you cunt."
Wow.
So she took a screenshot of that and posted it in the group, and she was like, "What am I doing wrong? Like, why am I getting attacked just because I'm..."
What if someone said, "Give it a rest, you cunt," to pictures of their children? Holy shit.
So,
or maybe give your cunt a rest.
Or that.
But in any case, I thought that was very aggressive. Of course, it's aggressive. And it was like, well, this woman, she had a baby maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and is she already this fucking miserable about being a mom that she has to tell me to give it a rest?
Behind the scenes, home edition.
And we are the 3 founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls.
Why are you laughing?
All right, so
I am overtired.
Well, this actually, okay, you know what? This is how we're going to start the episode. It's really fitting. It's been a very emotional week. I'll explain. So yes, we are the 3 founding non-mothers of
I don't understand. If anyone's watching this, please tell me what's going on.
I have to not look at Kristen when I do this. Okay, so we're laughing. This is our weird... Okay. I had a question because Isabel and I usually have discussions later in the evening when you've gone to bed already.
Sleeping.
Like
I'm
the last time zone. So you're in bed by my time. It's what, I think 7:30 my time. I'm like, okay, Kristen's out. So Isabel and I stay up late. We're only an hour apart. So we chat. And then I like, what happens when you wake up in the morning and you check and you've seen all the stuff we've discussed? And
it was just a couple days ago when I woke up, one of you said something like, "I wish we could wake Kay up to show her this or ask her this or something." But I woke up in the morning and I looked at chat and I scrolled and scrolled to see when it started, and I was like, holy shit.
Interview with Dr. Kimia Dennis.
With that in mind, when you look at those parts of cities that have food apartheid, high homicide rates, poverty, these are oftentimes parts of the city that also have fewer reproductive choice resources. Even if they're located blocks away from one of those fancy medical centers that have bought up parts of cities, right? Even if the people in these neighborhoods might work at that fancy medical center, do these people in the neighborhood really have access to resources needed to make reproductive choices? So it's not saying that lack of access to reproductive choices causes people to do crimes. Instead, it's just like every other factor, like poverty. It's a factor that can contribute to how people perceive the reality and perceive what they should do with their lives. And I really think that a few years down the road, if criminologists and criminal justice experts have access to data after COVID, after George Floyd, looking at job losses and all that stuff, they're going to find some shifts, not only in unemployment, but they might find some shifts in certain forms of violence and crime as well. Unemployment's always happened in Black communities. So what does it mean now when Blacks who have had to rely on unemployment checks are now competing with middle-class whites who now are applying for unemployment checks because of COVID? Like, how does that shape everything? How does that shape hospitals who are busy with COVID people and they might not have the ability to now provide birth control and other resources? Like, how does that influence the prescription drug market as well? All of this connects, yeah. So at least 2 of the African diaspora women in my research did address the tensions with their own mother. And so the research did take a very mental health scope because it addressed feelings, negative emotions, and some of the women having potentially diagnosed mental health conditions that shaped how they did not want to pass that down to another generation. So there are 2 different parts of that. One, mistreatment from their own mothers, and another, what it means to not want to pass mental illness to a future generation.
Child-free through the decades.
My dad's still living. My dad's 84, and I will tease him and say, I got the ultimate revenge, because he used to always say, someday, kid, when you have your own. And I didn't. So I'm like, ha ha. And as far as the getting old and sick and nobody there, I know plenty of people my age or my parents' age who have kids who aren't there for them. I mean, that's no guarantee in anything. And you'll find as you go through the different decades, you acquire friendships that are so intense and so special, and you're so bonded that if anything's ever happened to me, somebody's been there, and it's somebody who genuinely cares, and they're not there out of obligation. So you don't have to worry about any of that piece of it. That's not, shouldn't play into it at all. As far as look toward the future, with each decade, and I love Lenora said, when you get to your 30s, you're pretty much golden. Well, you just get more polished with each decade. You get closer and closer and closer. And I know Lizette will probably speak to this as well, but you get closer and closer and closer to being your authentic self. And to me, that's the ultimate goal.
There is nothing that all of us want. So why would this child thing then be something everybody ought to want?
We hope you enjoyed watching or listening to our favorite parts of all our previous episodes. Part 2 of Childfree Girls Anniversary Special airs on Sunday, August 2nd. Don't miss it.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. No, you say bye.
No, you say bye.
Oh my God, I'm leaving.
You leave first.
I'm going.
Bye.
Bye.